Before we begin, I'd like to thank all the recent subscribers to this YouTube channel. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Help me hit 500 subscribers. And I'd also like to talk about quickly my Telegram group is Snake ID North America. So if you're on Telegram, or maybe you're not on Telegram and you want another resource for snake education, consider joining us on Telegram in Snake ID North America, where we will focus on just the snakes native to North America. Of course, identification, how we reach that identification, and the finer details that we don't always have time to talk about in the Facebook groups. So please consider joining us on Telegram and go on my page, and I'll put the link down below for the Telegram group. Thank you for your continued support. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Today's topic, well, a popular topic across most of the Facebook groups: juvenile copperheads and juvenile cottonmouths. And we'll just discuss their behavior and their appearance and kind of how to tell them apart. I thought I'd start with this photo taken by one of my moderators in WSED, Sarah. And this right here, this is a juvenile cottonmouth. So right off the bat, we'll talk about the issues that educators face when trying to explain these juvenile snakes. So this cottonmouth is boldly patterned, and it has kind of like that brown on brown color scheme. And one of the most common mistakes that people make is they see this snake and they assume, well, this must be a copperhead because it has that bright, brown, tannish color to it. So they see bright colors and immediately they say that's a copperhead without taking into account any of the other features on this snake. So let's go right into it here. Let's zoom in on this snake's head, and right away we can see the dark mask going through the eye, past the eye, and around the snout on this juvenile cottonmouth. So right away, right off the bat, when we see this, we can recognize this snake as a cottonmouth because copperheads do not have this dark mask running through the face. Don't be fooled by bright colors, and we'll take a look at some other photos of these juvenile snakes. So here's a great photo of a juvenile copperhead. So as we can see, the lack of the dark mask on this face. So as we can see, the juvenile copperhead has the typical pattern of the adult copperheads, depending on region. We'll take a look at some different variations of these guys. But note the yellow tip of the tail, which I've covered many times before. Both the cottonmouth and the copperhead have this yellow tail tip for a couple years before it gradually fades away. And that tail is used as a lure to lure in prey, such as frogs and lizards. So as we can see, and speaking of, here is a juvenile copperhead eating a lizard. And here's another example of a juvenile cottonmouth with the bright colors. And again, we can see the dark mask on the face of this little guy and the tip, the yellow tip on the tail. But yes, juvenile cottonmouths are usually nicely colored, and as they get older, it will start to fade, but not always. Some adults retain the beautiful coloration, and some get darker, and some get almost all black as adults. So here's another juvenile cottonmouth with the brilliant colors. And one more juvenile cottonmouth. Mississippi is the location. On this one, we can see the markings are jagged or pixelated, as many people like to say, which is something that may indicate a cottonmouth. However, there are localities of copperheads that have a somewhat similar pattern. But again, look how dark that face is. And one more juvenile, which will indicate a cottonmouth. And here's a nice comparison of the two. And again, you can see the difference in the faces. And cottonmouths tend to have a more irregular banding and wider banding. But again, that's not always the case. And this right here is a juvenile broad-banded copperhead, Echistrodon laticinctus. So you can see the bands are broader than the eastern form of the copperhead, but you can see also the yellowish tail tip and the lightly colored head with no mask. And here's a few more photos of the eastern copperhead, juvenile eastern copperheads. And again, the patterns vary from region to region, from population to population. Some have more spots, such as this one here, and this one. And this one has fewer spots. This varies. Spots don't always indicate a cottonmouth. Many copperheads also have the spots. So to recap, the few things to keep in mind when trying to identify these baby pit vipers. The cottonmouth will have a dark mask on the face. Some people call it a Zorro mask, a bandit mask, a raccoon mask, whatever. It's a dark mask that runs through the eye, past the eye, down the side of the head, and then around the snout. A copperhead will not have this mask. Here's a particularly attractive juvenile copperhead. And we can see the light colored face. And this one has beautiful yellow on the tail with some white spots. Very interesting, nice looking, clean looking copperhead. And a close-up of a juvenile copperhead. And one thing I need to touch on before I leave you today is the myth that baby venomous snakes are more dangerous than adults because they dump, quote-unquote, dump all their venom. Well, this isn't true at all. The baby snakes can control the amount of venom that they release just as well as the adults can. They don't dump all their venom in a single bite. Even if they did dump all their venom, volume is what matters with snake venom. Adult snakes produce a larger quantity of venom, therefore the bite is more dangerous. This is not to say that the juvenile snakes don't have a dangerous bite, but it's just not more dangerous than the adult because the adult produces more venom. And I'll leave you with one more nicely colored juvenile cottonmouth. This one, you can't make out the mask because it's viewed from above. But in general, cottonmouths tend to have a more irregular pattern, more irregular banding, and wider banding as compared to the copperhead. And we can see those jagged edges on the bands. With experience, you'd be able to recognize this as a juvenile cottonmouth as opposed to a juvenile copperhead. So keep learning, keep looking at photos, keep asking questions, and thanks for watching. I hope you learned something today. If you have any additional questions, You can ask them down in the comments below, or ask us in Wild Snakes Education and Discussion, link below in the description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.